To replace your distributor cap and rotor, the tools you will need include a 1/4-inch drive socket set, dielectric tune-up grease, a set of screwdrivers, a pair of needle nose pliers, some tape and a marker, and of course the correct distributor cap and rotor for your vehicle. Before you replace your distributor cap and rotor, start with a cool engine. First, locate the distributor cap. This can be done by finding a spark plug and following the spark plug wire to the distributor cap itself. Some vehicles may have a splash cover over the distributor cap. Remove the splash cover to gain access to the distributor cap. There are several common methods of removing the distributor cap. The first type involves removing the retaining screws and lifting the distributor cap off the distributor. A second type of cap involves turning the hold-down fasteners counterclockwise 1/4 of a turn and lifting the distributor cap off. A third type of cap involves simply popping the retaining clips with a screwdriver and the distributor cap can be removed. With the cap removed, set it aside to gain access to the rotor. To remove the rotor on many GM and Ford vehicles, simply loosen the 2 retaining screws and lift the rotor off from the distributor shaft. On many other Ford, Chrysler, and import vehicles, the rotor is simply removed by pulling it up and off the shaft. Once the rotor has been removed, compare the old rotor to the new one to be sure of proper replacement. All rotors have a built-in notch or guide pins that align with the notch or holes in the distributor shaft for proper location during installation. Reinstall the new rotor onto the distributor shaft. It is important to make sure the rotor is fully seated on the shaft. Next, compare the new distributor cap to the old one. To complete cap installation, the spark plug wires must be transferred from the old cap to the new one. To eliminate the chance of mixing up the firing order, transfer only one spark plug wire at a time. It may also be helpful to mark the spark plug wires with a marker and masking tape in order to make the installation easier. To remove the wires, grasp the terminal and boot and remove them with a steady rotating pull. Once removed, add a drop of dielectric tune-up grease to the boot and terminal end of the plug wire and reinstall it into the new distributor cap. Push the distributor boot of the wire firmly into the cap until it snaps into place. Remember, only transfer one spark plug wire at a time until all the wires have been positioned in the new cap. On some Chrysler vehicles, the distributor end of the wires must be removed by crimping the terminal ends with the needle nose pliers and pushing them out of the cap from the inside. Once the ends have been removed, pull the boot up and reinstall the spark plug terminal into the new distributor cap. Now is also a good time to inspect the spark plug wires. If you notice any cracks in the insulation or corrosion on the terminals, replace them at the same time. Install the new cap onto the distributor in the reverse method of removal. If you removed the splash shield earlier, reinstall it at this time. On some General Motors vehicles, the distributor cap may have a retaining ring, a coil cover, and an internal ignition coil which must be removed and transferred to the new distributor cap. To transfer the coil, begin by disconnecting the negative battery cable. Disconnect the battery, tach, and ignition coil primary connectors from the distributor cap. You may need to use a small screwdriver to release the retaining clips on the connectors. Remove the ignition wire set retainer ring from the distributor cap. Remove the 2 coil cover to distributor cap screws and remove the coil cover. Remove the 4 coil to distributor cap screws and remove the coil. Use a needle nose pliers to grab the tach and battery lead clips from the cap connector. Turn the hold down fasteners counterclockwise 1/4 of a turn and lift the distributor cap off. With the coil removed, lift out the rubber insulator, carbon button, and spring. Install the new carbon button and spring into the new distributor cap. Coat the new rubber insulator with dielectric tune-up grease and position it as shown. Make sure to transfer the ground strap from the old cap to the new cap before positioning the coil. Install the old coil into the new distributor cap, making sure the 2 leads are secured properly into the new cap. Reinstall the 4 coil to distributor cap screws. Reinstall the coil cover using the 2 mounting screws. Install the new cap onto the distributor. Reinstall the spark plug wire retaining ring. You may need to use a small screwdriver to snap the clips in place. Don't forget to reconnect the negative battery cable. Start the vehicle to ensure proper installation of the distributor cap and rotor and plug wires, and you're done.
Let's review inspecting and replacing a distributor cap and rotor. First, remove the distributor cap from the distributor, leaving the spark plug wires still attached. Remove the rotor from the distributor shaft. Inspect the cap and rotor for damage and replace if any is found. Compare the new cap and rotor to the old ones to ensure the proper replacement. Install the new rotor onto the distributor shaft. Install the new distributor cap onto the distributor. Next, transfer only one spark plug wire at a time from the old cap to the new. Lastly, inspect the ignition timing to ensure no changes have been made.
The ignition timing is a precise moment that spark at the spark plug ignites the fuel and air mixture in the cylinders. Now, the specification for your car can be found in your owner's manual, an automotive service manual, or in most cases, it'll be designated right on the emission control decal located somewhere underneath the hood of your car. This decal will also list a specific RPM for which the ignition timing is to be adjusted at. Now, the ignition timing will usually be specified with the letters BTDC or BTC next to it. BTC simply stands for before top dead center. Some vehicles may have a specification with ATDC next to it, which simply stands for after top dead center. If you have a late model computer-controlled vehicle, you may not find a timing specification or idle speed on the emission control decal. If that's the case with your car, it's preset from the factory and is then controlled by the computer from that point forward. Now, most engines have what is called a timing mark on the pulley or balancer on the lower front part of the engine. Generally, these engines will also have a timing index scale on the front part of the engine mounted to the timing cover. If you can't see it from the top side of the engine, you may have to go underneath the vehicle to locate it. On many front-wheel drive vehicles, timing mark and index may be located at the rear of the engine, and you may need to remove a plug to see the timing mark itself. I've already found ours, and I marked it with a small piece of chalk so we could see it a little bit better when we set the ignition timing. But before we set it, there's usually a small step that has to be made, like removing a vacuum line or disconnecting an electrical connection near the distributor. Generally, though, this step will be outlined right on the emission control decal. On ours, we had to disconnect and plug the hose going to the EGR valve. We had to disconnect and plug the large hose going to the purge canister. We also had to disconnect a 4-prong wire near the distributor. And lastly, most engines must be fully warmed up and idling at curb idle. Next, we'll connect the timing light. Now, most timing lights are equipped with 3 leads. Black lead, which is connected to the negative post of the battery or good chassis ground. A red lead connects to the positive post of the battery. And the third lead, like this here, that's connected to the number 1 spark plug wire. If you're going to purchase a timing light, make sure you get one with an inductive pickup, like this here. Inductive pickup simply clamps over the number 1 spark plug wire quickly and easily. Now, whenever connecting the leads of a timing light or any other gauge, make sure to keep the wires clear of the fan and fan belts, and especially keep them clear of the exhaust manifolds. That's why I like to put the inductive pickup up here near the distributor instead of down by the spark plug. And lastly, we'll have to loosen the bolt a little bit at the base of the distributor. I'm using a socket wrench and a swivel to loosen the bolt up with. Okay, that should be just it.